Hey guys, this is DarkM on the mic, and this is my Persona 4 guide to Mitsuru Kirijo, and this is the character that I'm currently maining. I really like her a lot. She's also a very inherently strong character, so that's also good. This first part of my guide is gonna go over combos that mostly start off of jabs, either low or high, and other things. But yeah, these beginning combos are gonna be pretty simple and pretty straightforward, and then we'll eventually get into slightly more complicated combos and stuff like that. But before I do any of these combos, I kind of want to go over some general housekeeping for this character because it'll help my explanations and everything make a little more sense, and some stuff for you just to know right off the bat, so you guys don't have to ask me later. So yeah, let's get into that first. Okay, so some general housekeeping with Mitsuru. I guess first off the bat, she's a charge character, and so, you know, much like characters like Guile in Street Fighter, you have to hold back or down a little bit, and then forward or up, plus a button, and then her move will come out. And of course, this means that in combos, if you want to do her charge moves, you have to be able to manage charge and stuff like that. But honestly, the charge time in this game, not that bad. You have usually you have more than enough time to get your charge, and because of the way it works, you can usually transition from charge to charge pretty easily. Like for example, you could, do the back charge, and then as soon as you go forward, you can start holding down forward, and then you already be charging for your up charge. Another thing for you to keep in mind is that she has chargeable moves, and by chargeable moves I mean you hold the button down, and then the move takes longer to come out, and then it does more damage. Her 5B, or her standing B, can actually be moved forward or backwards depending on what you want. You can also move it forward and then back again, so she'll do kind of like a half step instead of a full step, like that. See the difference? Yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. You can also charge her jump B. You can see it's doing two different types of damage right there, and as well as her crouching B does two different types of damage. So yeah, that's very important to know, because whether the B is fully charged or not, a lot of times it will make or break hit stun in combos and stuff like that. So I'll be sure to go over in precise detail when exactly you need the charged B and when you don't. Also, because she's jumping with this move, very useful, because I mean she's in the air and can't be ground thrown, sorry. She can't be ground thrown when she's doing this, so it's a good throw bait move. And the counter properties on this move, which I'll get into later on when we get into counter hit combos, is pretty devastating. So that's that. Okay, and so another thing I want to talk to you about is this move, the Coup Droit. I'm just gonna call it the thrust, her thrust move. You can control how far she flies on this move, again by holding backwards or forward. You'll notice that sometimes I go far, sometimes I don't, and yeah, it all depends on when you hold back or forward after the move is finished. It's a lot more noticeable on the B version, because in that one she goes like 3/4, and then if I hold back, she barely goes anywhere. You can also charge the B version like that, and eventually it'll just let go on its own. And it does a lot of damage if you let it charge the whole way, like that. There are also EX. This is also an EX version, which will cost you 25 SP. Her upcharge, the Ice Mirror, also has EX version, and that one will appear behind the opponent, or a set distance, I guess. Yeah, it's more of a set distance than behind, but more often than not, if you're close enough to them, it'll be behind them. So, like that. And it has a lot of hits on it. There are some applications for the EX moves, which I'll get into again later. when it comes to setting up wake-up traps and stuff like that. But this is very important, being able to control the distance on the spear, because it basically controls where you end up afterwards and where they end up. It allows you to basically have more control of the spacing, and because of the way she plays, controlling the spacing is very, very important. It can determine whether you push them to the corner and are close enough to follow up. It can also determine whether you can set up the best wake-up pressure possible or not, and it can also determine ranges for like super follow-ups and whatnot. So yeah, that's her spear, and again, lot of utility with this move, and there's a lot of you have a lot of personal control over it depending on what you want. Okay, so some other moves she has. Her persona attack is like a long-range whip, and it freezes them like that. And I have the freeze mash on, or the freeze mash out on, so the computer is gonna mash out as soon as possible. It's still a considerable amount of hit stun, as you can see. You also notice that point blank, it doesn't do anything. It just whiffs. So you can't just like run up to them and try to hit with it. You have to be a certain distance. But the range is pretty long. Like you can see that I'm kind of moving between a small radius of where it hits and where it doesn't. But then if I go too close, it starts to miss. Yeah, so you know, this is probably around the minimum distance that you'll need. You can also press persona button again, or the D button again, to pull them in. This counts as an extra hit in the combo, does a little extra damage. Not recommended that you use this too much in combos, because it does prorate the damage significantly. And with this character, when you get those big hits, you have to pour on the damage as much as possible. So I will mention in these specific combos where I wouldn't mind, you know, pulling them in or whatnot for whatever reason. But it's very situational, in my opinion. But yeah, that's that move. Okay, another thing I want to mention also is that if you haven't noticed, you know, Mitsuru has like a pretty long sword. Her normals reach very far. Like most charged characters, you know, they usually have pretty godlike normals. And it comes with a price in a way. Like, there's a lot of characters that no matter whether they're standing or crouching, they can, you know, full on hit confirm going through all the buttons. With Mitsuru, it's not really the case. You'll notice that her standing B to sweep does not combo. But if they're crouching, it does combo. See right there. So depending on whether they're crouching or not determines what kind of hit confirms you can go for sometimes. Generally against Mitsuru, if you're caught crouching, you're in big trouble. And this also rings true for a bunch of other hit confirms. Like, for example, if I did that, which is jump B to jump C, it doesn't combo. But if they're crouching, it does. Like that. And so yeah, it just allows for her to open up a whole new can of worms on her opponent. So you have to really be conscious of when you hit them crouching and when you hit them standing. So yeah, that's that. Okay, so the first combo that I'm going to go over is a very straightforward one. Standing opponent and then stand A. It's basically just A, like that, and then B. The cancel into the B is a little strict. You can't take too much time on it, otherwise it won't combo. So you have to do it really fast. And then after the B, you cancel it into the C. And then you'll cancel the C into the A version of the spear. This is a good utility combo for building meter early on when both characters don't have a whole lot of resources and you can't really, you know, do your one more cancels or anything like that. So it's a really good all-around combo just to have. So the full combo will look a little something like this. The charge time for the spear, pretty lenient. As soon as the B comes out, you can start charging it because the this thing right here, the C version, doesn't really have it doesn't really change if you hold back or forward while you're doing it. So it's a real easy way to get a charge. So yeah, you can also cancel this into a super if you do have the meter. If you're in the corner, you can get the ice super, and if you're mid screen, you can get the rapid slash super. You can get either A version or B version depending on what you want. As you've probably noticed, you know, the B version does more damage. It takes a little longer to come out. It's the same with the two versions of the ice super. And one of the things that you'll probably want to keep in mind is that when you're canceling from the spear into the super, you don't want to cancel right away, because you want to make sure that they're close enough so you can hit them with the last part, especially if you're doing the rapid slash super. If you cancel it too early, you'll end up too far away and it won't hit. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind with that. But here's an example of what both combos would look like if done correctly. Okay, so next I want to talk to you about her crouching A. Honestly, there's not a whole lot that you can get off of this. I'm just going to be brief. Most of the times you're only going to be able to do like 3 into A spear. You can also get basically the same combo as we did before with it going into the C and then everything. Instead, what I would do though is I would go 2 light, and then crouch B, and then C. Like that. So yeah, the whole combo will look something like this. Yeah, and like the other combo, you can also, you know, combo into super and stuff like that, but I'm not going to bother showing you that since it's pretty much the same thing. Same canceling rules apply. You kind of want to delay the cancel so that you don't super them from too far away. And that's just something to keep in mind as you practice her with most of her combos. But yeah, other than that, there's not a whole lot she can get off of this. It's a decent poke, but again, like I said, because of her damage output potential, they probably didn't want to give her too much off of that anyway. So yeah, I'm going to move on to the next part. Okay, so the next part that I'm going to get to is what happens if you hit them while they're crouching. Well, that's when the fun starts. And this is going to be a real simple combo first of all. This is something that you can do anywhere, and if you happen to catch them. You can do same hit confirm, 2 or 3 of these A's, and then go into the B, and then this time you can combo it into sweep. And then from there, you'll be able to combo it into the B spear for the knockdown. You can also go into the D ice mirror, the one that comes out low and hits multiple times. Instead of canceling into the spear for the damage, you basically be sacrificing the damage for mix-ups. And it's very possible that in some situations you would probably want to go for it, because there are some characters that you might not want to push, you know, really far away after you end the combo, and you just want to keep them close. So that's very situational, and it's something that you're just gonna have to use your judgment on, but it is very strong. So this is what the whole combo would look like with the spear at the end. And another option, if you want to go for even more damage, is that you can cancel her sweep into her ice super, the C version, and this will work again anywhere on screen. And it's basically just an ender if you want to put as much damage on them as possible. Very situational. I wouldn't recommend that you do it all the time. In fact, if you're gonna if you know it's not gonna kill, you probably shouldn't do it. But this is what it would look like. Another thing that you could do in this situation is after you knock them away, like that, that's actually more or less the perfect spacing to set up an EX Ice Mirror. And this is also very determined on what direction you hold as you use your B spear. Like I said earlier, you can affect how far she flies once you execute this move by holding either backwards or forwards. And if you hold backwards while you're doing this, you'll notice that the Ice Mirror kind of passes in front of them and it misses them. It doesn't really give you the pressure that you would want off of something like that. So off of that option, you would want to hold forward, like that. And then the mirror will appear right behind them and ready to hit them. So that's something very important to keep in mind. Technically, after this super, you could also do it, you know, if you wanted to. But that would be wasting 75 SP, whereas doing this would just, you know, spend 25. So again, if you hold backwards, it'll whiff, but if you hold forward, the spacing will be more or less just what you want. So that's very, very important if you want to go for this setup. Otherwise, you might not find yourself in a favorable position. So that's just something to think about, and another option that she has. So moving on to the next combo.